Hey up guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a bit of a while since you've seen me here on YouTube. I am active on Twitch most of the time. Currently doing a Burnley save over there, so if you do want to follow me on that, I do find it a little bit easier to do those higher level saves on Twitch just to get to see the entire process, including obviously transfers and things. So you're a little bit more invested in higher level saves on Twitch, I find, than on YouTube. So follow me over there, click the notification so you know when I've gone live. I do stream very least every other day. I aim to be around every other day on average, at the very least. So, but here on YouTube, I've got to find something to do to bridge the gap between obviously the end of that premature end of that Bradford save and FM20, which, in fairness, isn't too far away now in the grand scheme of things. One would imagine somewhere around October. I feel like the beta drops, but in the meantime, experiments is the obvious way to go, and this is the first of those in what I'm deciding to do here. Now, you may have seen a similar thing like this before. I have personally seen these sort of, build a nation, pump money in, see how they do kind of things. I've not really invested too much in the infrastructure of this particular one, but I have changed the way these things go. Normally see these, I've seen these done before with obviously very lower level leagues and nations and see how they go. So I've actually decided to do this with one that's in Europe already. Not one that's, struggling to get past the first knockout rounds of qualification and things like that. I've decided on that you sometimes do see in group stages, basically, of the Europa League at the very least, with Apoel. For the most part, they are very much the dominant force in Cypriot football as things stand right now, although, in fairness, not as dominant overall as they thought. In the last 10 years or so, they have very much been the dominant force, and Apoel probably the only Cypriot team that the majority of you, I imagine, will be familiar with in general. I say that as Paphos have just signed Jason Puncheon, and that's become a BBC News story. But I'm very much proud of that because Paphos is a team that I personally used in this kind of experiment personally. So that was a very nice thing for me to see on BBC News this morning, which dates this video, I guess. Yeah, so I wanted to bring you this first page just so you can familiarise yourself with the very least the names of the Cypriot teams, if you aren't familiar with Cypriot football before. So there's the teams right there. Obviously, Apoel are the ones you're going to be looking out for the most part in this. But personally, I find that teams like Limassol and Orsi, they tend to be up there. I mean, you can sort of see them in the Omanoia, of course. Pretty much all these past winners on this list of past winners, everyone on that kind of tend to be towards the upper end as you do these, if you're not in control of them. Just to quickly run you through the rules of this right now. This has been done slightly differently to maybe these pumping money into a nation experiments you've seen before, where they just add a bunch of money to all the teams just via the editor. What I've done here is actually use the out-of-game editor rather than the in-game editor and change the actual prize money available. So this is a automated amount of money coming in and a more natural way of doing it rather than just giving every club 800 million or what have you. The prize money is what affects this. So the teams that do well get a little bit more prize money. Now, when I did this at the start of the year, when I edited this before I lost my documents, which included the original version of this particular database, edited. Oh, by the way, the Cypriot database, apologies to the person who actually created the original database. I've forgotten what your name is, but I will link the original database in the description below. It is available on Steam. I do know that much. It was available on the internet elsewhere, which is where I got it in the first place, but it is available on Steam. I'm aware of that, so I'll have a look for that. Stick the link in the description. Thank you for creating the Cypriot database in the first place, because I wanted to do a save in Cypriot football personally at the start of this year, and that's where I got it from. Then I tweaked it with the prize money. Now, when you do the Premier League saves at the start of the season, you get that notification saying you'll receive 80 million in TV money, basically. I got that to work the first time round when I did this at the start of the footballing year, before I lost my documents. But ever since trying to redo this, can't get it to work for whatever reason. So I've had to put that TV money into the prize money. As you can see here, every team gets £80 million at the very least. Bottom place gets 82. This was obviously all done in euros originally, so that's why all the numbers are slightly skew iffy. But it's back in pounds right now because I'm doing a Burnley save on Twitch, as I say. So, but in fact, it's in pounds. Kind of allows you to see it a little bit more clearly in comparison to the Premier League, which is what I've based the prize money off here. So this experiment is essentially what happens when you give Cyprus Premier League money. Imagine a billionaire investor has come over to Cyprus, bought a holiday home, loves to spend his time in Cyprus, wants to see some quality football here at some point. So he's invested a lot of his fortune into, or her fortune into Cypriot football, and this is how he does it. Maybe he owns a massive multi-billion company or what have you, and is able to invest this money on a regular basis into the nation as a whole, including the youth infrastructure, which have not changed the team's youth infrastructure, but I have improved the youth quality as well, which is something you'll see probably going forward here. Slightly, not drastically, but I have improved it enough that you'll probably see a few more good players coming through the ranks. Just because if you're going to invest in youth infrastructure, then you're probably going to get a few better players out. The quality is probably there, so it's probably not being nurtured as much. Essentially, that's what the big difference is between lower league nations and higher league nations. It's not necessarily that they've got less quality players; they're just not finding them as easily and not nurturing them as much. I'm not drastically improved it where they're going to be getting one every year, or what have you, 2 or 3 every year. It's not like 200 or what have you, but I have improved it somewhat. I can't remember the number now, but it's sort of on par with higher nations in Europe. But you can see there, these prize monies are sort of in key with alternate Premier League numbers. So obviously there's 20 teams in the Premier League, so first is first, second is third in the Premier League, third and here is the fifth in the Premier League, and so on and so forth down the list. The bottom couple of places get a little bit squished just because there's 12, not 10 teams in the top division here, and as if you just go through the other two, you can see there's some money here, just so they get some money when they get promoted, basically, so they can be reasonably competitive. It is obviously 80 million just for being in that division, so when they get relegated, they're still going to have 82 million when they go into this division, but the top team here is going to get 4.5 million when they get promoted. So they've got some money to maybe buy a player or two when they get promoted. So they've got a chance of maybe staying up. It's basically the idea here is, of course, if they get promoted, they're going to get 82 million and drop back down again. So they're going to be competitive once again, and that's where the infrastructure comes in, and they can invest in their stuff, their facilities. So that's basically how this works here. So yeah, that's the 3 main differences I've done with this. I've gone with a division that's higher up to start with. 19th, as it is. I swear it was only 20th before, but 19th is where they start in this. I think that's what happens is they typically drop a place immediately. Is what normally happens in this, from my experience, even with my investment, because obviously they're not super in Europe the first year either. So kind of on par with the Championship as things stand. The money is incorporated into the database itself. Which obviously is a little bit different to how this is normally done, and of course the youth is slightly improved as well. So there's 3 main differences between this and maybe not other particular versions of this kind of idea. And what's going to happen is I'm going to simulate 10 years into the future straight off and show you what's happened as it is in 10 years' time. So I will join you that very shortly. Hello, welcome back. 10 years on, 2028, and 10 seasons on, I should say. 2028. July, towards the end of the transfer period actually for that particular season, but you can see immediately that the Cypriot First Division has risen to 11th place. What's interesting here is Greek Super League. If you saw that on the previous part of this, that was 15th at the start of this, and that's moved up to 10th as well. I don't know if necessarily because of the sort of proximity maybe of the Greek and Turkish. I'm not sure where Turkey starts in this particular one either, actually. I did see the Greek in 15th, but maybe the proximity with Cyprus with the Greek and the Turkish leagues, because maybe they can draw from them fairly easily. They can get good relationships with the neighbouring nations. Obviously, Cyprus is the whole big deal politically with Cyprus is it's part Greek, part Turkey right now. So maybe they can draw from those 2 divisions and help each other as they rise through. Maybe we'll keep an eye on that situation as it continues. But as we left off, obviously Papawell in. Well, 4. It was at that stage. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of winning it. Won it again that following year in 2018, 2019, that first season. But we have seen Apol Limassol and AEL win it as well. Of course, teams that were in the Limassol were before that, but teams that were in that list of previous winners within the last how far back does it go? 20 years, I think. Within the last 20 years, there were teams that won it and teams that I sort of identified before. It's not really much need to look at the particular stages, but we can sort of show maybe who is at the top end as things. And Adarine is interesting because they're not a team that started there, but teams that got promoted, like Akritas and Akna, who I think may have started in the 3rd division in all this, actually. Let me just have a quick look at that one. I'm not sure. I have no idea why this is never on the right one. No, they weren't. I do tell a lie. I don't know why I imagine them to be in the 3rd division normally. But 2nd division looks like this now, but that's not really that important. You can see for Apple there, their balance is currently £733 million. And actually, this is kind of quite nice how they've got players on the pending transfer. Batista Mendy's coming in on loan for them, particularly this season. And a lovely player called Patrick Bork. Oh, great. But you can see their main team, Dominic Solanke's off front for them right now, and they've got Justin Kluivert. So this kind of gives you an indication of where they are actually 10 years on. If they've got players like, which are probably going to be 10 years on, more, not necessarily twilight years actually, almost just a tail end of the prime end of their kind of thing. You see, he was at Bournemouth actually for 8 years, Solanke in the end. But moved to Cyprus in 2025. So maybe he went on loan in the end season and then joined them permanently following that. You can sort of see those sort of years worth of overlap there. But 23 goals and 59 appearances, tearing it up, frankly, here. Value's not too great now, but yeah, Solanke there, and Justin Kluivert as well is an interesting one. Perhaps maybe even more interesting than the other chap, because he's come in from, ultimately, Monaco, is where he's coming on. I'm not sure where he starts. Does he start in Roma? Yeah, it looks like he starts in Roma in the save. Hopped around a little bit here, but Justin Kluivert, 29 as well, not necessarily not even out of his prime years. So that is particularly interesting there. Obviously, a lot of the players now going to be regens, new gens, whatever you want to call it. Superb and excellent on these now. Much of these have actually. I'm actually looking at Apple because obviously they're the most developed club in the first place. But we will have a look at their landmarks and, well, now you can see here a couple of times actually. Youth and training facilities are graded there. And that is actually, yeah, they've only upgraded once, actually. So that kind of shows you how good they were to start with. Just the once, yeah. See, a team like Darenaeus, though, have upgraded 4 times. In fact, increased their, temporary relocation, increased their stadiums. Things like this. A couple of other teams have actually upgraded a few times over the course of this. Omanoia a couple of times, Paulimno a few times, Larnakas a couple of times, Limassol a couple of times, and North Sea a couple of times. But yeah, teams like Apoel are already start with pretty good ones. So that's where you can see that. Now, one thing in terms of... I will show you how they've got in Europe in general. So this is the current season so far, and you can actually see Kluivert is a transfer for this season, in fact. Straight into the Orsolini, another one from this particular one round. But in terms of this, it's kind of interesting a little bit. Lauren actually is a player that started in Cyprus with Paphos. I do recognise his name, but because I've done Paphos days before. Now that's an interesting name, Antonin Barak. Starts with Udinese in the game. It's a player I bought for Burnley on the Twitch save. That's a name I wouldn't have recognised if I hadn't done that particular save before, because Udinese got relegated in that first year simulation, which was remarkable, really, for Udinese. But yeah, he plays there, and I picked him up as maybe bargain pricing because he's a fantastic player. Has been amazing. Felice D'Amico is a name I recognise. He's at Wolves. Was at Wolves. And he's still only 27. Obviously, he's one of those youth prospects at the start of all this. A couple of free transfers though. Obviously, Barak was one of those, and Yao Pereira. No, he's a regen. I know there's a few Pereiras kicking around of particular note, but it was the previous season I wanted to kind of show you really most of all in terms of this. I did have a quick flick through this particular year worth of saving. You can see 33 million they've paid for him. So the money that's coming in is actually rather competitive now with those divisions that they're around with. 33 million though for a player at Apoel there. Stephen Lejeune from Tottenham. I think he's a regen looking at him. Yeah, he is. Decent centre back. Very good centre back for this division. 120k a year though. That's where the money's going. It's not going on particularly in the transfer values, but it's going into the wages side of things. Because they're very rich teams, they can afford these exorbitant wages now, which is what they can draw them players in with. Maxence Cacré is a name that rings a bell. I feel like he's a good chap in terms of teams. Youssef Attal, is he that left back? Right back, sorry. No, maybe not. Not sure. Recognise the name, not sure if that's the one. Pedro Neto rings a bell as well. But Joshua Onoma is a name that definitely rings a bell. I think he actually does start with Tottenham, maybe? Not sure. But Onoma, obviously one of them. Directly above that is probably one of the bigger ones. Ross Barkley, 34 now, but would have only been 33 or 32 when he signed last year, start of last year. Yeah, that's one of the bigger ones. Ross Barkley only on a rotation contract as well, 20k a week, which is remarkable. Batista Mendy's there as well on that particular year. Well, the transfers. So you're starting to get maybe these twilight year Premier League players are sort of the ones that typically end up going to nations like Turkey. You see that quite often. That kind of thing. The one teams that end up going to like Besiktas or Galatasaray or things like that. Players like that, basically, players that go off into Eastern Europe at the end of their careers, essentially, is what you're kind of seeing here. And obviously, the further you go down this list, you're getting to cheaper players, young players. Oscar Gil, actually, that rings a bell. But he's gone to Tenerife. But it's the free players. You've seen the free players as well, the ones we're going to kind of go look at in this particular one, the kind of names that they're bringing in. And, well, there's one here, really. Hakim Ziyech. 35, actually, as things go on here, and not very fast anymore, but level of technical and mental quality unrivaled, really, and has gone to a North here, one of the higher ones. And Kevin Lasagna is another one that kind of often ends up in the Premier League. Not able to click on his history. He's clearly retired as well. So you're kind of seeing James Tarkowski, another one. Of course, no physicals at all at this point, 35. But like I say, the very high end of starting to get the higher end of ex-Premier League players, basically, on freeze as they run out of their contracts elsewhere, basically. I'm not going to go too far back on this one. Harvey Barnes from Leicester. How old would he be at this point? He's not going to be super old, is he? No, 30 years old. That's actually a really good coup. Reginaldo Firmino. Not that Firmino, of course. But Daniel James, of course, not necessarily as high quality as he might be in this year's game. Obviously, found himself moving to Man United in real life. But yeah, not gone too far back in this. Only Jack Rolls is another English player. Starts with this, I think. It's Tottenham. Yeah, he starts with Tottenham. And actually, Jack Rolls rings a bell. I just remember why he rings a bell. It's because he's actually Cypriot originally. He's got an English name, but he's actually trained in. But he's actually declared for Cyprus, so he's actually a Cypriot national player. 58 caps for him, and that's just broken. There we are. Ginali Mbula, that rings the bell. Of course, one of Ginali Mbula. I think he was one of the Premier League's club's record signing. Was it Stokes? Can't remember. Yeah, Stokes. I think he was Stokes' record signing when he signed for Stoke. But yeah, you sort of seen they're starting to get into the high double digits, 33 million on that last one. So they're in a good position. However, how this translates to European glory is, well, not great as things stand. Now, Euro Cup is where we kind of need to go for this particular one. Now, what I've basically noticed, because obviously it would have taken forever just to click through 10 years with you live. I need to go back a season. But group stages, all groups, is you kind of sort of seeing this basically happen. Group stages, Euro Cup. Previously, 10 years ago, if I go back 10 years in fact, 10 years ago, Burnley, of course, were in there in that first particular year. They did a stellar year in this one because they were 7th place in 2017-18 season. They were 7th place in that particular one, so they got European football out of it. Yeah, 10 years ago, not seeing a single European team, not seeing a single Cypriot team in that particular year's one there. But the following year, with a bit of money, maybe a bit of interest, bit of money going in, not necessarily a lot, I don't think. Still nothing, actually. Still nothing that following year. Group stages wise, I will actually just maybe bring you through the first 2 years of group stages and then show you where things are right now. Third year, still a bit of money coming in now. Still not actually getting through the qualifying stages of this particular one. Of course, they're not getting Brighton actually got into Europe that particular year. For the first time you actually see a Cypriot club in the group stages, Aberdeen, well done for them, in that particular one. First time we see one here, still not. Let's find out actually. Let's find out the first time. I didn't actually do this. I only looked at the last year's. Still nothing. Aha, Apoel making it to the group stages here. Now, Apoel are interesting because they're the only ones who have actually made the Champions League group stages, and I will just show you how they got on there. So that particular year, they actually got through the group stages and actually got through the group stage as well. Not necessarily, not just into it, they got out of it as well. Unlike Limassol. And I think I saw a third one as I just quickly flicked through there far too quickly. No, I think I may have got distracted by the fact that was Hapoel more than anything. Yeah, so now we're seeing 2. But yeah, Hapoel, I wonder how far they actually got in that particular year. I will go through there. So that's 23-24. Following year, though, Hapoel again, but didn't make it out of the group stage, although that was very unlucky. In fairness, they should feel very aggrieved for that one because they had better goal difference. But they clearly had a worse... Wait, hang on. They lost 2-1 to Hapoel. And then you beat them 1-0. How does that work? Surely the head-to-head is better. How did they not get out of that group stage? Is a 2-1 worse than a 1-0? Does away goals count in the group stage in that situation? Because it's net 2-2, obviously. I would have thought a 2-1 win was better than a 1-0 win. But, alright. That's what's happened there, evidently. They should feel fairly aggrieved for that one. Limassol only just narrowly not getting out of that one. That's a very low second place. Rangers as well in that particular one. They drew 4 times. But still just 2. Still just 2 in that particular year. And both of them can feel maybe slightly aggrieved not getting out of their particular group stages. But 25-26, you can see AEL actually came in and got out of their group stages. That's the first time we've seen a non-Hapoel get out of the group stages here. And Hapoel themselves also got out. Again, joined on points, but managed to somehow negotiate their way through the head-to-head in that particular one. But still just 2 at this particular point, which is a point I'm making because of I've seen the last year's worth of ones. And actually, year 26-27, the year before the previous one, I can't see a single... I don't know what's happened this particular year, but there's not a single Cypriot team in the group stages. They've all managed to botch it before they've got through to the group stages somehow. But the following year, redemption, basically. AEL, in a tough group with PSV and Tottenham, can feel actually fairly proud of 8 points in that particular group. Because they must have gotten... Oh, they basically just beat that fodder team twice. But then did draw with Tottenham and PSV. So that in fairness, is a very good result for them. Dundalk, actually, is one to mention here as well. Very good job from them to get to the group stages full stop. I think Dundalk had a good quality qualifying this particular round. Not got through it, but sort of there. But Omanoia here for the first time in here, and Ermis, there we are. Ermis Aradipu, again another first timer for the Euro Cup group stages. All 3 teams that appear in the Euro stage of this got through to the group stage of the Europa League. Now that is important because I do need to bring you back to Hapoel. And if I show you their schedule, and in fact, we're just going to quickly go back to their 23-24 because they got out of the group stages in that one. I want to see how they got in the knockout rounds. Got to the quarterfinals, actually, where they were knocked out by Bayern Leverkusen. They actually beat Sevilla in that following round. So that kind of shows you the quality where they're at right now in that particular year. Though they've got through, past Rennes in the first knockout round, past Sevilla in the second knockout round. On away goal was a 2-2 away from home, got past that one. In fact, they only marginally got past Rennes. Being 3-0 at home, lost 3-1 away. That one goal just saving them. Amazing. And then resoundingly beaten 6-2 in Algeria by Leverkusen in the quarterfinals. So that's a very good shout from them, realistically, that particular year. But Hapoel noticeably absent in those following years a little bit. Group stage in that one. That was the one where they should have really felt aggrieved not getting out of the group stages. Euro group stages again that following year. Well, they did actually get out of it. Forgot to mention that one. They did get out of the group stages and were beaten by Inter, again, a team realistically they probably shouldn't be beating at this point in time. And then the following season is the big one, really. They actually managed to qualify for the European group stages where Milan, Bayern, and Salzburg, I think that's the Swiss one, I forget, Austrian one, Salzburg, I forget which one, I think it's Austrian. But actually beat Milan. AC Milan at home, Bayern, credible 2-1 loss, really. Creditable. Lost to Milan away, lost to Salzburg away, drew at home to them, and lost to Bayern at home as well. So they didn't obviously get out of their group stage, and obviously 4th. So they didn't fall into the And then again, following year, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and Schalke awaited in the Champions Cup. So you see, if you notice very carefully in the last few years, those Euro Cup end stages are absent from those group stages. This is why, because they were in the Champions League instead. But Real Madrid waited them, Inter Milan waited them, and Schalke awaited them, and it wasn't good going for that particular one either. Only one win, and that was against Inter Milan, but a very, very good 3-0 win against Inter Milan, let's be honest. But of course, again, fourth, and that doesn't get you into the Europa League either. And then this particular year has not kicked off yet, so they actually played Milan in a friendly. AC Milan this time around in a friendly. So, got Champions playoffs for them here, but that kind of shows you where they are right now. And I think I can get you to... Yeah, so I bring you to Europe, and I show you the coefficients. Now, obviously, no, that's not a coefficient. Well, actually, the coefficient is kind of handy just in general for where they stand overall in European football. Apollo 36, basically, overall, is where they are right now because of their Champions League exploits in the last few years. They got 13 points for 23-24. I think that would have been their Europa League run to the quarterfinals. That got them to 13 points, and overall coefficient for this upcoming year is 40. Next year's drops if they don't do well in the Champions League. It's kind of weird that the Champions League group stages are worth less than a quarterfinal of the Europa League. A bit harsh, really, maybe. But it is then a big drop. Even teams like Aston Villa are somehow making their way onto this list, despite not being in anything. It's a very, very long drop for anything, basically, after that point. I may have gone past the teams, I'm not sure, but that's the best one there. However, there we are, Nation Club coefficients. That's what we're... Qualification places. That's what I'm looking for. To show you right now, 11th place Cyprus gets them. Champions Cup, best placed qualifying 2 and the Champions Playoff, along with 1 automatic group stage, 1 qualifying 3 and 1 qualifying 2. So that previous year, if they were there that previous year, having all 3 is actually pretty decent because it doesn't. 2 of those teams are still having to qualify through qualification rounds. Having all 3 in there is a big deal. In fact, there was none the year before. Probably means they were around this point where all 3 teams were starting to qualify rather than 1 in the group stages. But there are now 5 teams qualifying for Europe in Cyprus now, and we will see how this progresses in the next 15 years. If there's anything you want to show me to show... Oh, actually, one thing we do need to have a quick look at before I do pop off here is Cyprus as a whole. Because we are seeing... Well, first of all, we're seeing the very poor name database for Cyprus, but we are seeing this happen here. Now, you see the reputation is now 3.5 star for them. Best players are no longer original players, and we are seeing players like him exist for Cyprus. 23 years old, 57 million quality, left wing attacking mid here, and oh, I mean, you'd sign him, wouldn't you, in a heartbeat? And then, for sake of argument, 23 years old, same surname, but that doesn't mean anything in Cyprus because the name database is appalling. But no jumper reach, he's 5'9", but 20 agility, good lord, 19 stamina, he's going to be able to play all day. 16 tackling on a left back is insane, really. Long shots, long throws, long shots. You see why he's worth 60 million. And as a nation, they are, well, 84th still. As a nation, not developed as a team. But Atalanta was when they dropped to 45 million for him. Right, if we just look at the national team as a whole, we can just rank that by. Yeah, okay, that's. They've got 3 very. See what I mean though? By upping the potential youth prospects, you get a few players in 10 years, but it does immediately drop off. Like 3 maybe Premier League quality players here, 20 million, 14, 15, 10 million. And then we're starting to get into maybe championship level quality players. And below, Jack Roll's still kicking around though. Andreas Panaggi, I think, is a player that is a real life player that kicks off before this. No, he's just the same name as someone I recognise from before, I guess. But Jack Roll's obviously a real player. That's about it, I think. Jan Bola might be a real player. Yeah. But other than that, we're starting to get regens at the top of this. You can see this. 18-year-olds kicked in at 10.5 million. He might be something to keep an eye on, actually. On loan from Arsenal. Yeah, actually, he might be one to pay attention to going forward. Worth 10.5 million at 18, so he might develop further. Who knows? Another attacking midfielder, though, right-hand side this time. A lot of attacking midfielders, actually, and strikers at the top end of this. Is probably why they're not. Yeah, these three top players are all strikers, which is probably why the team as a whole, and that one as well, attacking midfielder centre. Yeah, the first non-attacking player, apart from that left back, is here, 4 million, centre back. So that's probably why they're not necessarily doing well as a nation. Still, Euro qualifiers, not getting through those, I don't think. Yeah, not getting through Euro qualifiers, not doing well in the Europa divisions, World Cup qualifiers, again, not getting through those. Although, that's not too shabby. Can't look at that one in particular, but you can see they're in Luxembourg, smashing Luxembourg, beating Iceland though, in fairness. But Belgium 0-0 away from home, creditable, I guess. But they've got a few quality players, and this European League, they clearly smashed that particular one. But doesn't get them anything. Oh, actually, Euro Championship Group B, they did get into the Championship Europa. You know what I mean? Euros. They did get into Euros group stages and then got beaten by all three teams that were in it. But in fairness, Belgium managed to do two of those. Maybe Scotland they should have beaten. Maybe Colombia won one friendly though. This upcoming year hasn't really been sorted out yet. We'll see how they get on in this European qualifying group. That looks quite nice. Oh, European League, sorry, not qualifying group. This is 2028, which would be a Euros. This would be a Euros year, so yeah, they didn't get into the Euros, this particular one. But we'll go forward another 15 seasons. I think we'll go forward another 15 seasons now and see how they maybe get on 25 years in total into the future for the next time around. So until then, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.